member was killed during a police shootout. Authorities urge calm, and would also update you on developments happening in and around the country and around the world, as well as Hot Edition is now airborne. We are live around the world on our website and also streaming on YouTube and Facebook. And like we love to hear from you. So do send us your messages and we'll be happy to share that with the rest of the world. Before the details, though, let's bring you some news summaries with Grace Hammoah Agyemang.
Time now for the news summaries on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. My name is Grace Hammoah Agyemang. Parliament has approved 5.3 billion cedis for the Ministry of Roads and Highways for the 2026 fiscal year. The approval forms part of broader government efforts to enhance the country's transportation infrastructure. In addition to this allocation, 30 billion from oil revenue has been earmarked under the Big Push program to support nationwide road development initiatives. The University of Ghana has confirmed that it will uphold its admission cutoff point for the 2025-2026 academic year, despite the poor performance of many candidates in the 2025 West Africa Senior School Certificate Examination (WASSCE). The 2025 WASSCE recorded a major decline in results, with core mathematics experiencing the sharpest drop. A petition was submitted to President John Dramani Mahama seeking the removal of Special Prosecutor Asiedu-Dartey, accusing him of incompetence, financial mismanagement, and a lack of tangible results after 4 years in office. The petition, dated October 20, 2025, was filed by Simon Awadi, the executive chairman of the Coalition for Integrity in Governance. It argues that Mr. Jabing's tenure has failed to justify the billions of cedis allocated to his office and has been marred by institutional conflicts. The petitioner contends that the Office of the Special Prosecutor has delivered no major convictions or significant asset recoveries, describing this as a clear sign of administrative weakness and ineffectiveness. And before we go, the High Court in Accra has instructed lawyers in the case involving Patricia Siedua, widely known as Nana Grada, and her co-accused to formally submit the terms of their proposed plea bargain ahead of the next hearing. The court directed that the agreement be filed no later than 3 clear days before the adjournment date of December 16, 2025. That's it for the news summaries.
Thank you, Grace. Let's settle now for the details. And we are starting from the Ashanti region, where the last 48 hours has seen quite some activity following the Otumfuo-Led Mediation, which has brought together the feuding factions in the Bawku conflict to try and find an amicable solution to the challenges over there. And in a moment, to speak to our correspondent, but security has been visibly intensified in Bawku and surrounding communities as government prepares to receive the final report of the Otumfuo-Led Mediation Committee on the long-running Bawku conflict. Additional patrol teams, surveillance units, and quick response detachments have been deployed amid concerns over possible tensions ahead of the report's presentation to President John Mahama in the coming days. The committee, chaired by Asantehene Otumfuo-Led II, is expected to outline proposals for a lasting settlement to the decade-old dispute between the Kusasis and the Mamprisi faction. The anticipated presentation follows a major dialogue session on Monday at the Menchia Palace, where representatives of both sides left the meeting visibly relieved, with observers describing it as one of the most constructive engagements in recent years. In a statement, the Asante urged the feuding groups to prepare their supporters for a future without violence, stressing that sustainable peace in Bawku will depend on mutual respect, coexistence, and a collective rejection of reprisals. The Bawku conflict, rooted in chieftaincy tensions and historical grievances, has resurfaced repeatedly over the last 2 decades, claiming lives, displacing families, and destabilizing trade, transport, and social services across the Upper East region. Government's latest mediation effort, led by the Otumfuo-Led II, is considered the most structured attempt at a comprehensive settlement since the early 2000s. Speaking to 3FM, security analyst Emmanuel Kuting welcomed the imminent report, but insisted that peace will only hold if a strong reconciliation mechanism is put in place. He recommended the creation of a grassroots reconciliation committee backed by a development agenda to address losses suffered by affected families and to ensure that the provisions in the final mediation report are fully implemented on the ground. Let's listen to Emmanuel Kuting, who's been speaking on this matter.
Definitely, if you look at what happened yesterday, I think some of us were quite disturbed. I think that's the drawback in the process where both feuding factions came out claiming victory. The report is not out, and we don't know what will come out of the report. So it's premature to speculate. I heard that Kusasi said will come victorious. The non-fishes were also saying the same thing. But the challenge is the media. And that is why I applauded Otumfuo with the methodology he used. You realize he did it behind the scenes. And people didn't even know the processes were ongoing. Given Otumfuo was even out of the country and had to do the mother's funeral and those kind of things. So moving forward as well, we can draw useful lessons from this very one vis-a-vis the Dagbon thing.
Right.
I think government must prepare its chest very well. There should be some form of restitution to these feuding factions after the winners are declared. And I want to urge my brother, there are no winners or losers here. Even yesterday, they admitted before Otumfuo that they are the same blood and they shouldn't be at war with each other. And I think that was telling. So this thing has protected over centuries. I think that we must bring an end to it now. And when it comes to restitution, you realize the place has suffered a lot of underdevelopment because of the protracted conflict.
Right.
So what government needs to do is put a developmental agenda plan for that area, not necessarily putting money in the pockets of the feuding factions. If need be, government could look at a reconciliation commission after all of this so that wounds can be healed, some form of apologies can be given, and we'll move forward as one people, as we are all envisaging. So I will urge the leaders of the feuding factions to prepare the minds of their people. They should tell them the truth, because this game is about evidence. And if you look at what happened, opportunity was given to both feuding factions to present their cases with the necessary documentation and evidence. And these reports are going to be based on the evidence and whatever was presented before the committee. The government needs to move straight away and implement same, and they shouldn't choose them. That's where the politicization comes in. Because this is an independent body, and if you look at the composition of the people on the committee, there are people with impeccable character and people with high integrity and high level of impartiality.
And that is the voice of security analyst Emmanuel Kuting, sharing what he thinks can be the way forward. Let's get the latest regarding these issues of what's happening on the ground ahead of the presentation of the report to the president. Castro Senyala is our correspondent monitoring the situation for us. He joins us from Bawku. Castro, good evening. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Good evening, Martin.
What can you tell us about the current situation in Bawku in terms of security? How's the atmosphere looking like?
Right. So, Martin, right from morning till now, I have been on the ground in the Bawku general area with the Ghana Armed Forces. The Officer General Commanding, or the General Officer Commanding of the Northern Command, Brigadier General Walanyo, is currently in Bawku, where he's been visiting some military positions within Bawku. And so I can report now that Bawku is very calm. We've gone through all the principal streets of Bawku and Binduri right from morning till now. And in the night, that the same thing is going to be repeated. to ensure that there's public safety and everyone is abiding by some of the measures that have been put in place to ensure that there isn't any or there aren't any violence. And so Bawku is very calm, except that when you move through the town, you can feel the tense the tense atmosphere, I beg your pardon, within the town. But then people haven't really expressed that, like we've always seen, where there are gunshots and all of that. And I think that is basically because of the fact that the military in the past few weeks has done or undertaken heavy deployment of troops into both the Bawku and then Binduri general areas. Also, Martin, what is also happening now is that the military has created a lot of military checkpoints on most of the major roads leading into Bawku and Binduri, and also within the town. And any vehicle that is passing by is stopped and then is checked to ensure that there isn't the movement of weapons into these two areas, or these two areas where in the past we've witnessed arrests leading to the deaths of people and then destruction of properties. And these military checkpoints that have been created are not just temporal. They are there being manned by personnel of the Ghana Armed Forces from morning to night to the next morning. What happens is that they have a routine that they keep changing the men, but then the barricades and that of the barriers are there permanently.
Okay, Castro, we know that the final report is yet to be submitted to the president, but ahead of that, there have been heavy deployment of security, even around Menchia Palace. But you are reporting from Bawku itself. Is it that during the deliberation and the mediation at Menchia in Kumasi, there were similar conversations just to prep the minds of the residents in Bawku that after this report is presented, its implementation will require all of them to align? Was there any sort of, engagement during these mediation talks in Bawku? Do we know about that?
Not at all. I've been following this issue of the Bawku conflict, since the Otumfuo-Led Committee began its work, and there haven't really been anything whatsoever, that has come to the attention of the media in the Upper East region. So I can say that I am not aware of anything of that sort. What I am aware is the efforts of the security agencies, including the military, that have always called on the traditional authorities and trying to engage them to tell their people to, to be patient and to follow due process to get their voices heard. There haven't been any instances where I have been made aware of the fact that the mediation committee has crossed over to the Upper East to engage the traditional authorities or the residents or locals here in the Upper East region.
And finally, you say, as you're speaking right now from Bawku, the place is relatively calm. People are going about their business, but you can feel some tension in the air. Have you engaged residents? Do they know that the Otumfuo mediation was ongoing and in the next few days a report will be presented to the president?
Yes, Martin. As for the mediation led by Otumfuo, it's no news to them. They already know that. In fact, there's eagerness in the air to know what the outcome of the committee's report is, and also to know what the proposals are. Talking about speaking to residents, Martin, Bawku has become more of a ghost town. Sometimes you run or you use certain streets and you hardly see someone walking on them. There are places where we have a lot of people moving, but moving with the military wouldn't give me that a chance to get down and speak to them. But then there are people who would reach you through phone or text to express their concerns as residents, which is the fact that they don't need anything. All they want is for Bawku to enjoy some peace again, so that children can go to school, nurses can get up and go to work. For instance, in Binduri, the ban on the use of motorcycles, is taking a big toll on residents, especially the business folk and those who are teachers and nurses who would always want to wake up, ride their motorbikes and go and teach or render services as nurses to the general populace. And so for them, they just want peace to return so that they can get back to having that normal Bawku where you can move around anywhere and not have to look behind your back and be worried that someone is pointing a gun at you and ready to shoot at you. So that's basically what they've been telling me.
Right. Thank you very much, Castro Senyala, for that report. He's reporting from Bawku and was updating us on the current situation there as we all await to get the full content of that mediation report, the mediation that was led by the Asantehene Otumfuo-Led II. Now, mind you, this has been ongoing for a number of months now because this current administration and all stakeholders within and about Bawku want lasting peace to be brought to the enclave. And it's unfortunate that even as journalists, the consistent reportage coming out of Bawku about this age-old conflict was quite worrying. So it is comforting to hear that something concrete has been arrived at. And if you listen to both factions, they've given clear indications that they are, in fact, the term both sides used was that the mediation was successful. The next major hurdle will be implementing the recommendations that will be captured in this report. Let's now speak to a security analyst on how this can be rolled out. Dr. Victor Doke is a security analyst and lecturer at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping and Training Center. Doc, good evening to you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
I'm sure you've been following conversations about the mediation that Otumfuo has been leading. First of all, were you surprised that even at the mediation premises, which is the Menchia Palace, there was heavy security deployment a few days ago, and even today that we are told all of that has come to an end? What did you make of it?
Well, I wasn't surprised, honestly speaking, because you're talking about decades-old conflict where the stakes are high, dynamics keep on changing, the two sides do not trust each other, and that makes it even more sensitive in a sense that any kind of disagreement on the lines of anything at all can trigger disagreements which can lead to clashes. So I wasn't surprised. And this is what is going to be the norm with regards to securitizing the area itself and then Bawku enclave itself, bringing in more men, patrolling, intelligence gathering, so people or criminal elements do not smuggle in weapons into the place in anticipation that things do not go their way and then foment trouble. So I think with regards to security, we'll be seeing more of this and even some coded operations with regards to the reports that will come for the president to implement together with his cabinet ministers and then the security hierarchy themselves.
Right. Now, the next major step will be that now that we know the report is to be presented to the president, the implementation will also take some time, rolling it out. What would your security advice be after the president receives the report? What are the immediate steps you would think the president should be taking?
I think one, after he has consulted or may consult with cabinet for them to decide, the security heads, their role is very paramount. Now, they would have to also do a risk assessment. So if it is not in their plans, then they should have to think about doing a risk assessment with regards to the recommendations. If it goes in favor of one side, what will be the implications? If it goes in favor of the other side, what will be the implications? Because you're talking about if I benefit from the report, I will jubilate. My jubilation should not cause harm or cause the other party to feel they've lost, and then that can also trigger. So we need that risk assessment to be done. The security heads will have to now do an analysis of the situation itself and then recommend where they need more men, more equipment, training or whatever, that will be done. In the Bawku enclave itself, you're sure to have a lot of men, being posted there for patrol duties. And then intelligence gathering will have to also be apt because we are looking at this particular process from now to next year. If the president decides that he's going to implement the report or recommendations or proposal next year, then it means that we need to be up from now to next year. Our intelligence network should be very effective and efficient. Our early warning systems also have to be in play so we can pick up any signs. So from now, people will be anticipated, okay? They won't know what is going on, but then you are rest assured that parties themselves know if the decision is going to go into their favor or not. So we need to look at all these dynamics, what will change at a particular time, and then be very proactive, not wait for the issues to happen before we move in. In all of this, I see the president concurrently appointing a substantive defense minister so that he would now coordinate together with the national security heads, NIB, police, officer security agencies. They will now collaborate. Although we have an acting defense minister, but I think he has assured us next year he's going to appoint a substantive minister. So I'm not looking at anything from now until next year. So we start at a clean slate and then implement to the latter.
The other concern really has been that if you look at the Bawku conflict, in fact, almost everybody that talks about it says it has a chieftaincy undertone. So clearly you have two sides of the coin coming to the mediation table to talk. If these two individuals, as in the leadership of both sides, the Kusasis and the Mampusis, agree that they are not going to fight, usually it is their assigns or people who assume positions that they may not have been given that usually cause the conflict. So sometimes unknown people who have guns just go to a part of the town and start shooting. What are your? How do you assess this? That if those at the very top are committing to peace, how can they themselves ensure that people who are under them or they superintend over do not flout a law or a decision that they have ratified or agreed to? How can they do that individually?
Right. So now, in everything the Otumfuo will do, I'm sure there will be a process where the two parties will now put signatories to some sort of like a peace agreement that they won't engage in violence. They won't also encourage the youths in that area to engage in violence. Or whatever be the case, they will use the appropriate law-abiding channels to express their grievances. And when this is done, the state comes in, announces or sends a message that anybody that foments trouble, the law will deal with you. And anyone in the enclave itself who is found to be culpable of fomenting trouble, the citizens can also effect a citizen's arrest and hand them over to the police. So when this is done, you are rest assured that the youth of the two factions would adhere to instructions. However, you would definitely have some criminal elements taking advantage of the situation just to foment trouble. Now, this is where our intelligence network needs to be able to differentiate between the citizens who are abiding by the rules and then criminal elements who are infiltrating into the town and using this event to foment trouble. So we need to be up. If not, we won't be able to differentiate. And we need the assistance of the citizens themselves to be able to give information as to who has come into town and then fomenting trouble. But when all this is done, we are sure to have a positive result. Other than that, if you are not able to do these things, then it means that we are leaving room for more chaos to happen in the context of people taking advantage of this situation and then fomenting trouble, which then will bring allegations as to this faction is attacking or this faction has organized groups to attack us or whatever. We don't need that. So sensitization, education is very key. Drum that aspect that the youth should lay their weapons down, not foment trouble, whilst their elders have agreed to a peace deal, an agreement, and have accept the results as it is. So when that is done, then you are sure that the security services would deal precisely with anyone found culpable of, breaking the law.
Right. My final question, kindly indulge me, would be clearly there is a mantra that peace and development work hand in hand. If for our listeners who are following us on Facebook and on YouTube, you can see images that we are projecting from the Bawku township. Doc, we know that because of these security concerns, the town usually becomes a ghost town. And our correspondent confirmed that for us this evening, that although we haven't had gunshots in some weeks, the people left there in the town are very small. Talk to us about how government can move ahead with probably some developmental projects to create jobs or things that would get them engaged, so then they don't drift back into, these isolations that lead them to want to foment trouble.
Well, ideally, one thing the Otumfuo report would include is also the aspect of jobs for the youth, which will be included. But the onus now lies on the government. We expand whatever that will be put in there. We all agree that there needs to be a structural, sort of like engagement with regards to finding ways to improve living conditions, economic viability in that area. So the responsibility now will lie on the government. How can government bring in the private entities also to partner? So if there's going to be a drive for development, infrastructure, companies or whatever, not only in one enclave, but in another enclave. So now youths from elsewhere will not now migrate to the town for it to be condensed. It makes it easy to assemble to foment trouble. So it is a very challenging task because you're talking about finances and resources. So these are things that the government will now have to sit down, iron out, find the funds, and then implement. So if they have to now come to the people and say, we're going to do A, B, and C here, A, B, and C over there, then it takes what? Now we are looking at the time frame, a year, 2 or 3. What plans would you have for the youth also? So all these would have to be a high-level stakeholder consultations. It won't just be one day. It's a process because you're looking at how people can get back into the system. Investors, traders will now go back into the town and have the confidence to trade without fleeing again. So first, we need to look at how the peace will be maintained. The two sides will agree after the report is out, after everybody has known their fate, and then now we can look at the structural development and then implement it together with the central government, private partnership, and then the local government system over there.
Dr. Victor Doke, thank you so much for your time and your thoughts.
You're welcome.
You had security analyst and lecturer at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping and Training Center, Dr. Victor Doke, there talking to us about how the Kofi Annan, how the Otumfuo-Led committee and the mediation talks report should include and or consider issues of employment and job creation and development in as much as it prioritizes the peace and security of the area. So we'll wait to see what the full content of that report will be, and then in subsequent bulletins we can further break it down for general conversations on it. This is still 3FM 92.7. You're listening to Hot Edition. It is live from our studio here at Adesawe Kanda in Accra. I am Martin Asiedu-Dartey. We are shifting our attention to other stories now, still on security matters, but this time around we are going to Tamale because, in fact, we are going to Tamale, not Tamale. Tamale. The concern there is that tension is rising in parts of Tamale following the death of a suspected member of an armed gang who was shot during the exchange of gunfire between suspected drug peddlers and the police on Monday. The man died at the Tamale Teaching Hospital after sustaining gunshot wounds. The killing has sparked unease among some residents of Sanchirigu and Aboabo areas long associated with youth gang and drug networks. In response, the Tamale Municipal Security Council held an emergency meeting earlier today to assess the situation and coordinate community engagement efforts aimed at preventing reprisal attacks or disturbances. Security sources say the police acted strictly in self-defense after armed criminals ambushed the team during an anti-narcotics swoop. More than 30 suspects were arrested and significant quantities of cannabis, cough syrup and synthetic opioids were seized. The confrontation is the latest flashpoint in Tamale's ongoing battle with drug-related criminal networks, which have become increasingly concerning because it is growing violent in recent years. Authorities are urging residents to remain calm as investigations continue. Let's now engage correspondent Christopher, who has been following this for us for the latest update. Christopher, good evening. Thank you for joining us on 3FM. To start with, give us an idea of the security situation in Tamale.
Yes, so Martin, I can confirm to you that right now, as we speak, everything is calm in the greater Tamale metropolis. People are going about their normal duties, except to say that a cross-section of the people are not too happy when the operations of the special operations team of the IGP, who are conducting some sweeps at some forest areas where they suspect that some criminals have been hiding and operating from.
Yeah, for those who may not know, Chris, give us an idea of what exactly led to this swoop or this latest operation by the security services. Is it that there was an increasing security issue or drug use? What exactly led to this current security activity in the area?
Yeah, so over the few months, the greater Tamale metropolis has been noted for a transit point for the trade of illicit drugs. And so the IGP sent a special task force to come to the region to help maintain security and also ensure that these criminals are flagged out from their hideouts. And so since the operation team came, they have been conducting their activities in areas where it's believed that these criminals who peddle drugs have been hiding. And so some arrests have been made, but on Thursday, November 27, there was an operation at the Nobisco Forest where some 2 tricycles were set ablaze. That was where residents began raising concerns. But yesterday, unfortunately, when they visited one of the forests in the greater Tamale metropolis again, a young man believed to be in his early 40s, who, according to eyewitnesses, was going to pick his children from the market, that is the timber market, met with untimely death through gunshot wounds. According to the eyewitnesses, he was stopped by the police, and after interrogation, he decided to speed off the scene because there was some sporadic shooting. Unfortunately, the police fired at him and he died. Now, this information has been corroborated by the Metropolitan Chief Executive of Tamale, the Mayor of Tamale, who indicated that actually that was the information he got, and the explanation that the police service is giving is not accurate. And he has since had a meeting with them and has asked them to avoid the excesses that have been recorded in the greater Tamale metropolis. But the police also issued a statement indicating that their action was in self-defense because when they stormed the forest, the suspected criminals opened fire at them, and they had to retaliate or return the fire in self-defense, resulting in the death of one person. Even though they describe it as unfortunate, but they believe that the operation has succeeded because lots of the criminals have been arrested.
Right, so we're told that there was a RegSeg meeting today. What outcomes did we get from the meeting, and what's the way forward?
Yes, so it was a MUSEC meeting, that is the Municipal Metropolitan Security Committee, that's the Tamale Metro Assembly. They have since sent a report to the IGP telling him about the operation and the need for the IGP to call his men to order because even though they support the operation, but currently what they are experiencing is not part of what they wanted to see. According to the Metropolitan Chief Executive, the IGP special team should focus on flashing out criminals, should focus on ensuring sanity and security in the Greater Tamale metropolis, and not to harass or let their operations lead to the death of innocent citizens and residents within the Greater Tamale metropolis.
All right, thank you so much. Christopher Mwako is our Northern Regional Correspondent updating us on the security situation in Tamale, where we are told that earlier today a man was shot. In fact, yesterday, I should say, a man was shot believed to be a gang member, and this was during a sporadic shootout where the police were trying to keep calm or bring some sanity to an area, and then it led to the killing of this particular man in question. Some residents have raised concern about the situation, and it's also on the back of the police trying to ensure that issues of drug trade and robbery attacks in the area are nipped in the bud. But how can the security agencies ensure that this does not escalate? Let's speak to Richard Kumado, who is a security consultant, and he's joined us for a quick chat. Mr. Kumado, good evening. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
What is your reading of what's happening in Tamale? Until the last few weeks, anytime you heard about Tamale, it never really was issues of security. But now it looks as though the concerns elsewhere in the northern part of the country is gradually trickling to places like Tamale and its environs.
Definitely, to the extent that Tamale has become a bit more complex, cosmopolitan. The associate crime will be drugs and money laundering and gang peddling and many of these ones. If it's in the same direction that the special forces or the special task forces in Tamale to keep it, then the likelihood that there will be exchange of fire is very high. Unfortunately, the gang leader did not survive. But I'm not surprised that if there's a gunfire, considering the capacity of the police and the sophistication of the weapons they may have at their disposal, they are more likely to take down anybody who engages them in a gun battle. And I'm not surprised this one happened. They have finished. They have taken stock. They will review the operation and make sure they become more aggressively tactful in making sure that they actually arrest people and bring them to book. And when people fall by gunfire, then they should be ready to be held accountable by making sure that they provide the necessary reasons why they took him down.
And on the back of that, you mentioned that the Tamale is becoming increasingly complex due to crime-related issues or drug-related issues every now and then. But talk to us about how the police can manage the situation. We know that, like, the death of this man is likely to cause some tensions to rise. However, the greater good would be to have a calmer Tamale or Greater Tamale enclave. So what is the strategy the police would have to deploy in making sure that you have even opinion leaders, chiefs, traditional leaders siding with the police rather than, standing aloof and watching the situation escalate?
Number one, public engagement is key on the part of the police. Number two, awareness creation is key. Tamale people can attest to the fact that crime has dominated the public space. And what criminals do is that once the police have become very relaxed, they become very aggressive in the public space. Once they realize the police have become very aggressive and they wouldn't tolerate any of their excesses, they will run out of Tamale and find a safer place somewhere. It is in that regard that the police have taken charge of Tamale Central, and they will want to engage them and flush them out as quickly as possible. Invariably, the greater good of the people will be served, and it's in the interest of the greater good of Tamale that the police are willing to put their lives on the line. These are some of the challenges you face when you have gangs operating within your backyard and they amass weapons and they amass drugs. It's likely going to engage the police, and if care is not taken, somebody is going to be taken down. I'm saying that the police have taken notice. Public awareness to bring the community leaders along with them is key. Creating awareness of the danger of these criminals hovering guns all over Tamale is another. And once they can have the support of the community leaders, it will save the police from many of the backlashes they will have. Having said that, the police have a duty and the responsibility of maintaining law and order, and excessiveness from the part of criminals will be met with the same force. And once that is done, death is one of the outcomes that you expect. We will wish that going forward, they will get them arrested and they will get them prosecuted. But let criminals also know that once you engage the police in the gunfire and care is not taken, you are likely to be hit by a strange bullet, or the superior power of the police may weigh you down, and many of the gang leaders could be taken out.
Right. Mr. Kumado, thank you so much for your time this evening. He is a security analyst and was speaking to us about the recent concerns of the shooting of a man in Tamale by police officers following a gunfire exchange when the police undertook an operation where they were looking to reduce or dealing with targeted drug networks to ensure that they clear them from the area. This comes on the back of recent concerns about the increase in security drug-related issues in the area. So we wait to see how this tension would also be doused or de-escalated so that we do not have another major security concern on our hands. This is 3FM 92.7. You're listening to Hot Edition. It is live around the world on 3news.com. We are also streaming on Facebook and on YouTube. And we always love to hear from you. So do send us your messages on these issues we have discussed so far. This time around, though, we'll be going to the House of Parliament because a lot has been happening. Following the approval of the 2026 budget, the appropriations bill has also been read and specific sectors are getting their budgetary appropriations approved. As we speak, or a few minutes before we got on air for Hot Edition, which comes your way Monday to Friday at 5 p.m., the Ministry of Roads and Highways had just had its budgetary allocation for 2026 approved. So it means that at least, if not for anything at all, they are in pole position to start working for the budget of next year. But a lot more has happened beyond that. The minority in the House flagged the proposal by the Transport Ministry to adjust air passenger service to charge upward from the current 5 cedis to 100 cedis in 2026. We'll try and get you details of that in a moment. But let's, before we go to Parliament, let's bring you this quick update about issues regarding HIV and AIDS in Ghana, because health is wealth and we all need to be very concerned about that. The World Health Organization's goal to end AIDS by 2030, which is in the next 5 years, is facing fresh uncertainty as new data shows that although progress has been made, new infections remain high with only 5 years left on the clock. These concerns will take center stage at the 23rd International Conference on HIV and AIDS and STIs in Africa, set to open in Ghana on Wednesday, the 3rd of December. The World Health Organization reports that 26 million people in Africa are currently living with HIV, with women and girls accounting for 63% of infections. The region also recorded 380,000 AIDS-related deaths last year. This is the first time Ghana is hosting the conference, which will bring together scientists, policymakers, civil society groups, and global stakeholders to share strategies for ending HIV and AIDS. Ghana's target, or Ghana itself, is struggling to meet the UN AIDS 95-95-95 target, which aims at getting 95% of the people living with HIV to know their status, 95% of those diagnosed to be on treatment, and 95% of those on treatment to achieve viral suppression by 2025. Let's listen to this and then we can come and sum up this conversation.
Our first 95, we are only at 68. The second 95, we're at 69. The last 95, we're at 90. First 95 is that all people living with HIV in Ghana know their status. We are only at 68. The second 95, that all the people who know their status of HIV are on treatment, we're at 69. And the last 95, the stigma index is almost 72% in Ghana, which is very high. Go out and let anybody know that you have HIV/AIDS. Societal stigma have forced people to enter into their own personal stigma, to the extent that people don't want to even come out to look for care. 85% of people would want to see their pastor before seeing a doctor. About 45% would prefer to go to an alternative treatment than to go to an orthodox established treatment. Now, that limits the number of people we can put on treatment. And once you put people on treatment, you will come to hear somebody is going to advertise, oh, you throw your medicines away, you can get cure here. You've heard in the media of false cures, and with Ghana East Commission have had to come with counter press statements to say that we don't have cure as we know yet. Now, the preventive aspect, why we are still getting new infections. So stigma and discrimination are a big part to that.
And you heard that report about what exactly is happening when it comes to HIV/AIDS and our fight to ensure that 95% of persons who are living with HIV know their status, 95% of those who've been diagnosed to be on treatment, and 95% of those on treatment receive viral suppression by 2025, which is actually the end of this year. So you need to also support this fight. So like I indicated, Ghana is about to host the International Conference on HIV, AIDS and STIs, which is the 23rd edition. And so the conference is likely to host some 3,000 delegates from 85 countries who are expected to attend the 5-day conference, which seeks to find solutions to the widespread impact of HIV/AIDS and to address funding gaps caused by declining support to Africa. Just a few days ago, I heard the United States had said that people should stop saying or using the term AIDS in the U.S. because they believe that there isn't any clear medication, any clear medical condition like that, and that they have advanced medication to deal with it. But that's the United States. That's why funding has been cut for a number of support projects in deprived or emerging economies. So this is quite concerning that we as Africans or people who may be within having this condition need to put in the necessary effort to ensure that we are able to live longer and stay safe around each and every one of ourselves. Listening to what? This is still Hot Edition 3FM. Stay with us. We have the latest in the world of business coming up in a moment.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Coming up tonight, half of Bank of Ghana's Monetary Policy Committee indicates readiness to back further policy rate reduction in January 2026 meeting. I am Bismarck. I'll start this headline story and others lined up for you. Please stay. Thanks for your company. Now to the details. 3 out of 6 members of the Monetary Policy Committee, MPC, of the Bank of Ghana have indicated that they will support a further cut in the policy rate at the next meeting in January 2026. These members gave the assurance in the official decision submissions report released by the Bank of Ghana after the MPC meeting. The following 3 Business News Desk report has details.
Details emerging from the Bank of Ghana's 127th Monetary Policy Committee meetings in November reveal that while members welcomed Ghana's rapid disinflation and currency stability, they were split on how aggressively the policy rate should be lowered going forward. All 6 members pointed to a dramatic showdown in inflation to the central target of 8%, strong reserve buffers of 4.8 months of import cover, and a 32% appreciation of the cedi as firm grounds for for easing monetary conditions. However, policy preferences varied, with some recommending deeper cuts of up to 450 basis points, while others called for a more measured 300 basis point reduction, citing persistent global risks and the need to protect external buffers. A key concern raised was the high real interest rate, now above 13%, which members say is constraining private sector borrowing and slowing investment recovery. The committee also emphasized maintaining foreign exchange gains, boosting credit to businesses, and supporting ongoing fiscal restraint. With inflation expected to fall even further towards the lower band of the target in the coming months, several members signaled readiness to support another rate cut in January 2026 if the current momentum holds and downside risks remain limited. The MPC's next policy decision will be announced after 8 first meetings of 2026.
And that was a 3 Business News Desk report on behalf of Bank of Ghana's Monetary Policy Committee indicating readiness to back further policy rate reduction in January 2026 meeting. Moving on, the Ghana Stock Exchange started the final month of the year on a subdued note, with major indices recording minimal gains amidst significantly light trading activity. The market's cautious approach points to continued selective trading by investors. There is more in the following 3 Business News Desk report.
Both of the Ghana Stock Exchange main indices posted slight advances. The GSE Composite Index inched by 0.01% to close at 8,610.70 points. The Financial Stock Index saw a marginal improvement of 0.03%, ending the session at 4,457.71 points. This resulted in a mild rise in market capitalization to 166.49 billion cedis. Price action was nearly flat across the board, featuring only one gainer and one decliner. Cowbank emerged as the sole gainer, adding 1 pesewa to close at 41 pesewas. Total Energies Market in Ghana was the only stock to lose value, shedding 4 pesewas to end the day at 40 cedis, 37 pesewas. Despite the index gain, market activity saw a sharp decline in volume and value compared to the previous session. Total value traded was 1.27 million shares, a drop of 42.20%.
And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. And that brings us to the end of the business segment on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck Ausabile. Shen is here for sports. Please stay.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on the 3FM Hot Edition. My name is Bill Ishen. Let's start off from the camp of the Black Queens, who are set to face England's Lionesses in a friendly tie tonight at Southampton St. Mary's Stadium. Now, ahead of the game, Vice Captain of the side, Jennifer Kujo, has expressed the team's readiness.
Definitely, this is a different environment that all of us have been in. It's a little bit different than what I'm used to. It's just already every day. It's good to be here early to just get an understanding of the whole place. So it's been a massive, thing for us to be able to train together, get more training, and I think we are definitely ready for everything. And I think the weather is something that now everybody is understanding and knowing that it can rain in any day, so we are ready for it. Yeah. The biggest thing is like everybody understanding that we are playing with a team that they, one of the best in the world, and nobody should be scared of anything. They're all players, as we've all been players as well. We've all played with different type of players, and players like that. So everybody is different prepared. Nobody is underrating anyone. They know that the task ahead is huge. So it's a privilege for everybody. That I know that everybody is just really ready to step up and give everything they can for the country. Yeah. I think the biggest opportunity for us is to being able to play with a top opponent. It's also going to give us the chance to experience different type of plays. So also it's also give every young player and the players a chance to play in the highest level. So I think this is really an exciting opportunity for us as an individual and as a group to be able to put Ghana on the map and then also just spread the word about Ghana and then the youth and then how soccer it is in our country and how important it is for women.
That was Jennifer Kudjo, the vice captain of the Black Queens. Meanwhile, the 2026 World Cup draw is inching ever closer. The draw will take place on Friday in Washington, D.C. in the United States. And the 2026 World Cup will see two major changes with top-seeded teams slated to meet only in the final. My colleague Otumfuo-Led Mediation has more.
For the first time in the history of the draw for the FIFA World Cup, there are going to be two major changes. The first of which we've already been made aware of, and that's the fact that the top two seeded teams using the FIFA ranking can only meet in the final of the competition. It's similar to what we do see in tennis Grand Slam competitions where, for instance, if Yannick Sinner is ranked number 1 and Carlos Alcaraz is ranked number 2, they are put on opposite sides of the draw. And so usually you would see a final between the top two ranked players. That's if they win their games in the tournament. And so that concept has been applied to this World Cup where you look at Spain and Argentina, the top two ranked teams, they have already been placed on the opposite side of the draw. And so if those two teams win all their games and go to the final, they would meet each other. Same applies to France and England, who are also third and fourth ranked in the world. They would also be on the opposite side of the draw. And if these four teams win all their games in the competition, should be meeting in the semi-finals of the competition. Now to the second major change in the draw procedure. 24 hours after teams find out which group they would be when the draw takes place in Washington on Friday, FIFA is set to host a separate ceremony to this time announce the venues and the kickoff times for all of the 104 matches. Now, this is important because despite the fact that you may know which group you are in, you may not necessarily know where you would play and what time your matches would be. And so remember that this tournament will be hosted in 3 countries, the US, Mexico, and Canada. So potentially you could play your matches in any of these 3 countries. And so on Saturday, December 6th, that's where FIFA have announced that they would then have a separate event to announce the kickoff times and then the venue for all of these matches.
That was Otumfuo-Led Mediation with the updates on the major changes ahead of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Again, the draw will take place on Friday, which 3 Sports will provide a lot of updates from because Otumfuo would be in Washington, D.C. himself for the 2026 World Cup draw. That brings an end to sports here on the 3FM Hot Edition, and that brings an end to yet another 3FM Hot Edition. We'll see you at same time tomorrow with more updates, and in the sports segment, of course, we'll talk about the Black Queens. Until then, have a great evening.